All right, wholesale weekly update number 15. Let's talk about some deals. So right now I have 4 things under contract. I have 3 terminations that are under my belt. So that's 7 things that have totally been locked up since the 15 weeks of doing this. Technically, it's been about 10 weeks of actively pursuing this. So not quite at a contract a week, but I think I'll start getting to the point where I am getting a contract a week. So these deals, the first one is in Burlingame, Kansas, population of 919 people. I'm waiting on photos from this one. She's not in the area. It is a full gut job. I have it locked up, I think, for $5,000, and we're going to see if we can get it moved. I'm going to try to dispo this one myself and just try to nitpick anyone that's an LLC in the area based off of using PropStream or using Zillow, whatever the case that I have to use to find these people. I think that one's going to be almost too much money to move, even though it's at 5,000, but I was willing to give it a shot. She knows that I'm also wholesaling it. The next property is in Decatur, Georgia, so plenty of population. It's a condo. It's kind of run down. It's got an HOA. I'm dispoing this with Cephas. He actually has 2 buyers that are kind of lined up to walk it. They had a couple of, nuanced questions. So I got in contact with the seller. We tried to get them to go out there last Friday, but the seller's tenant has a graduation that's going on, so we had to re-coordinate that. So I think this next week coming up, we'll be able to get those people to walk through it. I still think we're too high on that one, but it's nice that we're getting even more traction to where, someone's potentially going to go walk the property. So I'm excited for that one. The other property is in Pontotoc, Mississippi. So this one, I've been at this one for almost a month. I've not given up on it. The dude wanted me to basically get rid of my due diligence, submit earnest money, and it's like a non-refundable earnest money. And basically, he ghosted me for 2 weeks. And so I said, no, man, if I'm going to do this, if you're going to go MIA, I got to be able to protect myself. You're going to get the contract the way that my contract is. He finally just kind of agreed to it. So I already have a buyer that I pushed this to. He's like the only buyer in Pontotoc off of looking at an investor base. And I'm pretty sure, he's interested. He wants to walk the property, but I didn't want to get him to walk the property until I was under contract. So Friday, I finally got under contract with this pretty argumentative kind of MIA seller. The contract is signed. We're going to schedule the beginning of next week for him to go out there, and we'll see if I can get that one dispoed out. I have it locked up at 15. I really want to just sell it to him for 20. It's going to need a lot of work, so I'm kind of worried that he's going to want it a little bit higher. But if he doesn't buy it, I don't know who else is going to buy it because he is the buyer in that city. The other property is in Crockett, Texas. This is like a population of 6,000 people. And this one, another kind of transparent wholesale. I think I need to be lower on it. But instead of missing the opportunity, I went ahead and locked it up at 115. I think reality, it needs to probably move at the 100, but there's justification, or it's within the web, as we'd say in TU. I think it lies within the web at 115. It's just on the higher end. So waiting on pictures on that one. He's going to put a lockbox on the property, so that's how we'll access it. And then I'm probably going to submit this one to the TU Dispo portal once I get those photos in. Those are the only ones that are under contract right now. And I'm kind of forgot that I had 4 things that are under contract and working. I just haven't had anything closed yet. So we'll see if any of these can get to the finish line and put a little bit of money in my pocket so we can, up the marketing and push out a little bit further. I think my goal is I'd like to get to the point where we're getting 2 contracts signed a week. If I can get to an average of 1 contract signed a week, I think that'll be pretty beneficial at this stage in the game. But the goal would be 2 contracts a week to get to RJ's little plan for the $1 million operation. I would love to do $1 million in revenue, but at this point in time, the goal for the end of this year is to do at least 6 figures in revenue. Actually just net 6. That would be the best thing. So maybe do like 200 netting at a 50% margin, maybe, or even more. I don't know. Some other conversations I had, there was this crazy cat lady, can't remember where it was, but man, she was in the hospital when I was talking to her. She says she's got a cat sanctuary. She has other, I don't know, just she had so many little stories. Maybe I'll like clip it and create a little couple videos that can come off of that so people can understand these conversations. That one's not a deal, but may again try to move it. She's got a lot of needs to get to another place that have to be settled that I do not think are realistic at the prices she's wanting to get. So let's go into some business breakdown. So for these last 10 weeks, like I said, this is week 15 of starting, but I would say 10 weeks of actively really doing the business and 10 weeks of starting my property leads account. And that's been my main lead source is property leads. So one thing that's been kind of frustrating me recently is getting all these very, very rural leads. And I guess, Tori, a guy in TU, he said this, and RJ said it a lot, but Tori reiterated it and basically said, you got to choose your hard. Do you want acquisitions to be hard or do you want dispo to be hard? And so what that means is if you're getting rural leads, it's probably going to be easy to lock it up, but it's going to be hard to dispo. So the acquisitions will be easy, but the dispositions would probably be hard. And so if you go to these major metro markets to where you have, countless buyers, the competition is going to be harder. So locking it up and being a good salesman, essentially, on the acquisition side, that's going to be a lot more skill based and it's going to be tougher and you got to beat out the competition, but the disposition, it'll fly off the market. So it's the idea of choose your hard. Obviously we want the balance, we want the middle ground, but with property leads, these rural leads, I can get the contract, but I can't do anything with it after I get the contract. So I've been kind of looking for other lead sources or different avenues for doing it. One cool thing that they're doing now is they just had conversation about potentially changing up their nationwide leads, which would potentially up the price, but differentiate between the rural leads and some of the metro leads. I just don't know how I feel. There's mixed feelings. There's some people are like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. Then you got other people that are pretty successful that say, I'm not going to spend that much money for a PPL lead when I could take that same amount of money and put it towards Facebook or PPC. So what I'm kind of leaning towards, and this is maybe shiny object syndrome, but I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm going to start the Facebook ads. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it with somebody, get that set up, because reality PPL, they're doing their own strict thing. I don't want to manage that because that creates another leg and another hurdle that takes me away from acquisitions, which is the only thing that I really think I should be focused on. But I think that the mentality is I would get control of what's being seen in front of these people. I would know exactly what I could target specific states as opposed to going abroad nationwide to where I might get Oklahoma where there's regulations, or I might get these little podunk towns that, I could still get the towns within the states that are rural, but I don't know. I get a lot of New York leads. New York's a hard state to move things. I get a lot of Oklahoma. I get some Oregon things. I have connections in some of these places, but not all of these places. And it just makes it a little bit more difficult in these regulated states. So I'd rather be in states that are near me. I mean, that would be cool. Eventually, I would like to be a buyer. So I might as well obviously hit Georgia because that's where I'm at. I was talking to Joey about this, and his mentality is nationwide. It's just difficult. It feels like beating your head against the wall. And so I think I'm gonna start the Facebook ads. I might also add the Anthony G thing just to kind of split test that and see what's going on with it. I don't know. I have some capital right now to deploy it. I did do an onboarding with Lead Zolo this week, and Lead Zolo is just another PPL provider. There's a little bit of a difference between it. From my understanding, they use Facebook ads. So again, I could pay for them to do Facebook ads and pay them on top of it for doing it and getting the PPLs, or I can set up my own Facebook ads and do it myself. And it's my brand and my face and my recognition. And I'm the person that when you fill out this form, this is who you expected to talk to. And that's who it is, as opposed to like a Liz buys houses or something. So I think that's where my head is at. I'm going to go with the Facebook aspect. I think I'm going to hold off on the Lead Zolo because you got to drop $1,000 on that just to get started. And I could go the county lead aspect with property leads and Lead Zolo, but then that's like $125 to $150 a lead. And I still think that's crazy and expensive when you could do Facebook and potentially get leads for $20 to $50 in specific states with your own specific brand. So I think that's where we're going to lean towards, because I'm getting really upset with these rural leads in this PPL nationwide track. I might be completely wrong, but I guess I'll be willing to face the consequences of that. My dials this week were pretty down. I would say that my conversations were up. I did get 2 contracts signed this week, so I mean it was beneficial. I need to get more focused on blocking off times for calling and then just pound the phones of calling. It feels weird because I feel like calling the call no answers over and over, it feels like productivity, but it doesn't seem like you're doing anything, especially when you start hearing the same voicemails and everything else. I turned my property leads off for a little bit at the end of this week. Beginning, I had about seven one day, 5 another day, and I think 4 another day. In the last 2 days, I didn't do anything with it. So going through some of those older leads that are in the system, going through the call no answers, I did get all of my drips and things situated. So my workflow is pretty consistent. People are getting touched upon. I'm actually seeing some people come out of the woodworks from older leads that are being touched with the drip that are responding. And so now I just need to get them back on the phone or, communicate through the text to hopefully get them on the phone from those texts. So week 15, we've done 7 contracts, 3 terminations, 4 things that are in the pipeline. I don't feel super confident on any of those. Like, this is a deal, this is a banger, it's going to move. I do feel like there are possibilities for these things. 2 of them are, I'm going to attempt to dispo and kind of stretch some of my attention away from acquisitions. The other 2, they're going with JV partners. And that's it. Pretty good week. I'm, still just trying to grow. I need to dial in on the lead providers, and I need to be consistent with making the dials and not being scared to lock things up, shoot the shot, and make sure that I'm staying within the web. I am getting way better on the phone. My acquisition side is definitely improving. I am still working with people to get better at that. I'd like to have some more conversations with people and just get more things reviewed. I'm putting out call review videos and, some of the basis of doing those call reviews, not call reviews, but just live seller calls. I'm putting those out. One, just to be transparent with my process. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm building this thing. We can see from where I start to potentially where I go. The second aspect is it's a quick way that I could potentially get feedback. I mean, if someone could review that and say, hey, this is where you're doing good, this is where you're doing bad. I'm hoping that doing that will provide that. I don't want it to be that someone's like, hey, can I use you for advice? Because I'm new. I don't really know what's going on with some things either. I'm still just trying to grow myself. So week 15 in the books. Remember to stay happy, hungry, and humble, and we'll see you next week.